Hello, Bournemouth fans. Hope you're doing okay this Saturday. Wish we were playing today, but our match has been moved to the Sunday, 4 o'clock. It's not on TV. It was going to be on live last night. So we've been watching the football today. Watford got a result against Luton, so they're on 7 points. It's Reading and Swansea at the top of the league at the moment. Can we join them? Or in the way, of course, the visit of the Canaries. And it's going to be an interesting gauge on how the season is going to go between the two sides. And fairly indifferent starts in terms of performances from both sides, but 4 from 6 points, not too bad. To discuss it, we have got podcast regular Craig Beazley. Craig, how are you, mate?
Yeah, very well, Sam.
Looking beardless today. From the last time you were on the podcast, you were looking very rugged, but you had a shave, I see.
Yeah, to be honest, I didn't do a very good job of it as well because I had loads of shaving cuts afterwards. It was just a bit of a hedgehog. Believe it or not, 15 razors.
No way.
Through. 15 razors I got through. It was a bit of a hedgehog, wasn't it?
Oh, fair play. So, how much of the Man City game did you see on the Thursday?
So yeah, saw quite a bit of it. I feel that we did, really well. We gave a good account of ourselves. They played a fairly strong team. It's a shame that we didn't see Ake. But Man City are Man City. And I thought, the finish by Delap, Rory Delap's son, was phenomenal. He looks like he's going to be a good player. So, yeah, in a way, it's good to be out of the cup, but it's a shame, we couldn't get through it because it would have been our first win against City. And I think I agree with what Jeff said in one of the podcasts that, it was our best chance of beating Man City. But we gave a good account of ourselves, and that's all, that's all we can really do.
Yeah, and I thought it was a really good performance. And you see some of the quality of players that they had on the pitch at the end of it. It was absolutely ridiculous. And I know he said that we were playing many academy players, but when you look at the quality they had out on the pitch at the end, Kevin De Bruyne, Sterling, there are others playing such as Mendy, Rodri, their new signing Torres. I mean,
Mahrez.
There are others. Yeah, Mahrez, Phil Foden, we could go on. So it's a compliment to us. And I think we came through it relatively well. There are a few on Twitter that got a little bit disappointed for it. But I think JT's going to be relatively happy with the performance there. And like I said on the show with Tom Jordan just afterwards, I think I wouldn't say it's given JT a headache in terms of team selection, but I think it's probably allowed him to sleep better at night, knowing that if he needs to play certain players like Offerball or Zamora, they can cut it at the highest possible level against players. I mean, Zamora was on that left side, and he had Mahrez to contend with, Kyle Walker. It's like fair play to the lad. He did really well, and as did Namdi, and Sam Surridge had a good performance up front as well. But in terms of the visit of Norwich on Sunday, it's going to be a really interesting game, isn't it?
It's going to be a tough game. I think it's going to be one of the tougher games that we're going to come up against. But we got to look at ourselves and the amount of quality that we do have. I thought, and I agree with Tom, that Offerball had a fantastic game. He deserves a shot in a championship game, and it's dependent on what happens with Kelly. I know there's a late fitness test. I wouldn't be scared about him being thrown into the mix.
No. And that's what's nice about it, isn't it? That, being able to blood these players at teams like Manchester City, it means that, you wouldn't be afraid of putting them in against Norwich. And like you say, I think it's going to be an interesting match, and hopefully a lot better than our one last season, because that was a 0-0, wasn't it? And it was all about the focus from AFC Bournemouth's perspective all seemed to be around Timo Pukki and are we going to be able to keep him out? And as it was, there was almost too much attention on him. And Norwich had the low block defensively. They were playing a makeshift defence, and we just couldn't break through. And that was a time where we hadn't really hit our rhythm whatsoever. And it ended up as a 0-0, but one that Bournemouth really, well, we really should have got the 3 points.
Yes, yeah, most definitely. And it's one game that I look back on, both the home game and the away game, where Cookie made, a fantastic save. I'll give him that. But what he was doing, I don't know. I really don't know. So yeah, hopefully he won't repeat that. But...
No, I mean that save was wonderful in the away game, and yeah, Norwich, they won that 1-0. And in the home match, it was just a really frustrating 0-0. And we saw the likes of Phil Billing, who was very much in his AFC Bournemouth infancy. Many people at the moment still think he's almost still in his infancy because he's not quite learned how to play with the energetic Bournemouth way, and that's something that I'm sure we'll mention when we come on to the teams. Now, Norwich this season, from looking at other YouTube channels and seeing what their fans say, it's been a fairly indifferent start in terms of their performances, but they've got the results. I mean, they beat Norwich. They beat Norwich. They are Norwich. They beat Huddersfield away with a late winner on their opening day fixture. Before that, they went out of the Carabao Cup to Luton, and then in their last match was a 2-2 at home against Preston, where they came back twice. And it seems like Norwich fans are fairly similar to us, and they're pleased with the return. Yet performances, they know there is a fair bit more to give. So it's going to be two teams that are really striving to improve how they're playing, and we could be in for a bit of a ding dong, couldn't we?
Yeah, most definitely. I think, like Middlesbrough, I think Preston are one of those teams which will play the long ball, are tough to break down. They will throw players at the back, whereas Huddersfield are a little bit more open. And I think it's going to be a very, very tough game. I think we need to make sure that Picky is kept quiet. But at the same time, we can't put too much focus on him this season. So I think we've got enough quality in our squad to beat them, but they'll probably say the same about us.
Yeah, and a lot of their supporters think that they're going to get a result, and we're also feeling very optimistic as well. So I think it's going to be a very absorbing affair, and I think it would be a good match that should have been televised, but for our heroics in the Carabao Cup against Crystal Palace, sadly that television match went to Huddersfield. The club lost out on £100,000 of TV money. We gained £7,000 for getting through the Carabao Cup, and then AFC Bournemouth fans have to pay twice. One for Man City and then for Norwich, so it was a lose-lose.
Makes sense. It's frustrating for everybody involved. I think it's a bit scandalous that Sky have actually done that, and really, I think they should have kept the game televised.
Yeah, I mean, I know it had to be rearranged, but just imagine that further down the pyramid, like League Two side, where they think, I don't know if it's 100,000, it's probably less, but they would be thinking, this money's absolutely huge for us, and it's sort of, but for the team doing well in the cup competition, they've then lost that money. Now, thankfully, we've got good money from players that we have sold, and also parachute payments as well. But yeah, if that was further down the pyramid, I think they would be kicking off at that. And go on.
Look at what's happened with Leyton Orient, and I think that's scandalous, really. That their game against Spurs couldn't be rearranged. Yes, I know that they need to keep the cup competition running, but at the same time, that is a big payday for Leyton Orient, and it's a shame for them that game can't go ahead, where they could earn quite a bit of money off the back of that.
Agreed. So in terms of Norwich's visit, this looks like how they will probably line up tomorrow. Now, this is courtesy of Lewis from Norwich City Central. And it looks like Tim Krul in goal. They've got across the back, they've got Quintilla, Gibson, Godfrey, and also Max Aarons, who's been linked with Barcelona, and he's very quick. He bombs down that right flank. It's going to be, I don't know if it's going to be Adam Smith on the left or what. We don't know. If Rico plays at the back of that defensive three, then probably Adam Smith. So he's going to have his work cut out. Ben Gibson it'll be his championship debut, left-sided defender, I think, as well. And then there's that midfield of Skip, Cantwell and McLean. And Cantwell last season, a lot of Norwich fans raved about him, but as time went on, he's almost been a player that people are questioning whether he should be in the team, and there are others that could maybe take his place. There's Buendia that's back from injury, so how fit he'll be, we don't know. Hernandez, and then Pookie up front. When you see that side, are there any threats that you instantly think, hang on, we've got to keep an eye on them?
I think you've pretty much nailed the two. So Pookie up front, and I think Aaron's along that wing. They're both very, very good players. To be honest, Aaron's, I'm surprised nobody's actually come in for him already, and he's still at Norwich. But I think we can get a result from them, and hopefully it's the 3 points. But they're going to be a force to be reckoned with this season, and they're going to be right up there.
Yes, they are, for sure. Now, earlier in the week, I spoke to TNC, which is Talk Norwich City, a huge YouTube channel and podcast for all things Norwich. And Craig, I got stitched by Chris Reeve, their presenter, because it was a 20-minute chat, and we talked about all things Bournemouth and their experience of Bournemouth and what Norwich think of Bournemouth. And they said, Sam, when we came down to Bournemouth and we watched the 0-0, we kind of looked at your club. We thought, you're a little bit tin pot, aren't you? And I answered in the best way I could. And then I see the YouTube video come out the next day. We are a tin pot club. They actually put the headline of the YouTube video. So I've been getting rinsed. But anyway, this is an excerpt from that YouTube video that was released in the week. Have a look at this.
Look, Sam, I'm not going to be two-faced in here and sit here and say, Bournemouth, massive club, love you guys to pieces. I've gone on record saying before that you are a little bit tin pot. Now, have you got to come back to that, Sam? Because I was sitting in the away stand in our 0-0, where, by the way, you should have definitely beaten us that day. In my opinion, we had chances, so did you. I looked to my left, I couldn't quite believe my eyes, Sam, because they were just. It was like the OAP stand. They all had blankets on. Like, honestly, they all had blankets on. I couldn't believe my eyes. Like, do you have a comeback? Am I wrong?
Look, we're a big club now. We've got automated turnstiles. We never had that before. It was usually one man who actually took the tickets. We've got another scoreboard. We are going up in the world. However, you're right. We are a tin pot club, and I think people look at the size of the stadium. West Ham fans were singing "My Garden Shed's Bigger Than This," all those kind of chants that you would expect to hear. And in many ways, we were the laughing stock of the Premier League. But I think, the one thing we did have on our side was the fact that we could out-football a number of teams, pretty much anyone outside the top six. So that's one thing that we had in our locker. And had we been poor and floated around 16th, 17th each season, then the comments would be more than justified. However, now we're back down to the Championship. For instance, at the weekend, we watched in our last match a horrendous stream, and it was through the club's equivalent service, not iFollow, but their own one. The camera angles were awful. The commentary didn't even work for the first 20 minutes, and that just there was hashtags of tin pot on the AFC Bournemouth timeline. So we probably deserve it, to be honest, Chris. So, I don't think I'm going to be winning an AFC Bournemouth ambassadorial role anytime soon after that, Craig. And they did poke the bear somewhat, and I responded in the only way I knew how. But after the issues with the streams last week with Chris Temple and Willow sounding like Daleks for the first 20 minutes, in the end they just cut it completely. A lot of fans, by the way, baying for refunds after that. But it's IMG's problem, and they've basically said no, so we've all been stitched.
I understand it's not only us as well. I
Yeah.
understand the problems were with other clubs. So, like you alluded to, it is IMG's issue. It's their fault. Should fans be getting refunds? I did have a quite heated discussion with one lady on Facebook after the stream, and I said, look, at the end of the day, the money is going back into the club. It's one of those, the club aren't earning anything through food sales or in the bars afterwards. So the lease, it's one of those. Unfortunately, not everything is going to be perfect.
Agreed. And how many times have we turned up and paid 32 quid for a ticket at Dean Court and watched something that we'd rather not anyway? And
exactly.
We got to watch it, albeit the commentary wasn't there. But and you know what, Craig? I mean, it's a different type of football fan on Facebook sometimes, isn't it? I mean, I know Twitter's something else. And I know you've got football Twitter accounts that always try to provoke reaction. But even on AFC Bournemouth's, when AFC Bournemouth post a Facebook post, I look at some of the replies and I just can't. Sometimes I can't even look at them because some of them are just, well, firstly, some are completely uneducated. Others are cringeworthy. You've got some people that make valid points, but it's almost like anything the club do, there's always someone that's trying to put a negative slant on it. These are the people that you could say that you're going on holiday somewhere, and they would then intentionally find that place on BBC Weather, and then they'll tell you how crap the weather is for the next week. Like those type of people that have to put a negative slant on everything. And
what irritates me about it, Sam, is that we haven't got the resources of Man City, of Man United. We have a fairly small team. There's a lot of people that have unfortunately lost their jobs at the club because of coronavirus and the relegation. So we haven't got those resources. And the way I look at it is Liz Finney is doing the very best for the club that she possibly can. That they're not going to get everything right. And it's not even their fault with regards to the sound on the stream. So
in the neck, aren't they? And they
they do
to tweets and stuff. And anyway, hopefully it'll be a better stream on Sunday. But what will the team be, Craig? I'm turning to you for advice and help because I think some of it picks itself, but others maybe don't. I don't know. So there we go. 3-4-3 formation. It probably will be that, unless he goes for a 3-5-1-1 again. I don't quite know, but formation-wise, do you think he'll go with the tried and tested?
I think so, I think so. It's a question mark still with regards to who starts in goal. We didn't expect this problem. I think it was harsh that Travers was dropped after the Blackburn match. Begovic did okay, against Crystal Palace. He did well, saved the penalty. Then to put him in for the Middlesbrough game must have been a kick in the teeth for Travers. But Travers didn't do anything badly against City. So
no, he didn't. No, that's right. This is a difficult one. This is one of those 50-50 ones, I think. You just I wouldn't know because based on the fact that he plays one keeper in the cup tournament in the first round, well, in the second round, and plays another in the third, usually there's some kind of some kind of pattern, but there's just not. So it's almost like toss a coin on this one.
Personally, I'd like to see Travers put in there. And the only reason being is because he's the goalkeeper that we would look to move forwards with. I think Begovic, in the end, will leave. If a bid comes in and it's significant, I think he will go. He has got a lot more experience than Travers has, but we need to persevere. And I think Travers will be good. Aaron Ramsdale was singing his praises on Twitter. So, I would go with Travers.
And then across the back three, I mean, it all depends on Kelly's fitness. I mean, he walked off the pitch with Man City, but it may be that JT will just want to rest him anyway, even if he was like nearly there. But there are players that can slot in. For instance, in that player 3 position, Diego Rico. can play there. And what do you think for the back three? Because I'm assuming Steve Cook will be straight on in.
Yeah, I think Cookie's got to go straight in. So Cookie, definitely in the centre and captain. Do you know what? I would give Namdi a chance. I would.
So over Chris Mepham.
Yeah, the verdict is out, I think, on Mepham for me. But I think Namdi has shown what he can do. I think he definitely deserves his chance. He definitely deserves his chance.
Fair play, and I think he did. He did well. And I don't know if you've seen on Twitter, someone posted a highlights reel. I mean, it was only his best bits, but I thought he coped admirably there. So
against some of the best players in the world as well. So
very true.
Yeah,
I mean, for me, it's between Offerball and Chris Mepham. I think. Are we going for Rico on that left side of the three?
Yeah, I think so, because I think
it would either be Kelly if he's fit, but Rico if he's not.
Yeah, I think Rico, because I'm not sure if Kelly will be fit. I think it's a quick turnaround, and that is the problem with the Championship. It's game in midweek, game at the weekend, game at midweek, and unfortunately, we've had the Cup as well. It was great to play Man City. It was great to see these players bleeding in. But I think it's a shame, that Kelly got injured. Maybe should we have started Zamora from the start?
Well, yeah,
Jay-Z,
I thought he did really well. And I mean, for me, I look at that and I think, well, would JT favour having more experience in terms of centre backs in there with Chris Mepham as well? So that's the only doubt for me. But other than that, if you're looking to having strong players there, Offerball's not slow either. Rico's got pace, and when you're playing against the likes of Buendia, although he'll be back from injury, I'm sure he'll cause problems, and hopefully they'll be able to deal with them accordingly. So you know what, let's stick with that. It may not be the case, however, let's move on to our midfield, and we're going to scroll up, and we'll start with our centre midfield there. And well, I think one of them probably picks itself. He didn't play at the weekend, but I mean, he's that kind of player that I think, Premier League experience. And I look at their centre midfield, and I think they're quite weak. I mean, they like to press. However, I think we could dominate the middle of the park, and Lerma's has to go in, doesn't he?
Yeah, and I think that is the key of getting straight back out of this division, is to dominate the centre of midfield. And we've got two very, very capable players in Lerma, and the other player, Lewis Cook. I'd throw him straight in.
I thought he did well against Man City.
Yeah, same here. So I think he's shooing. I would say against certain teams, I'd probably pick Gosling over him. But against Norwich, Lewis Cook. Yeah.
Okay. I'm on board with that, and I think, Smith and Stacey, right?
I would. Yeah, definitely. Smith and Stacey. Stacey's been very, very good. So, I think this is the sort of game for him. Definitely Stacey down the right and Smithy down the left.
But what's quite handy though, knowing that Zamora can play there. Just if Stacey's not fit or whatever, Smith can move over, and then Zamora can play on the left. And then you're thinking, if we're short of options on the left, then Rico can play there, and then we can bring Chris Mepham into the defence. So there are lots of options there, I've got to say. So and you know what? Not only we're also looking relatively strong. When you look at how Sam Surridge performed at Man City, Josh King being back, we don't know how Stanislas is. That's one of the concerns we've got for the weekend. Whether he'll start or not, I don't know. But if players stay fit, we've got depth. If they don't, that's when there's a problem.
I would certainly, for this match, go with Danjuma and Brooks. I think it's probably best to protect Stanislas He'll be a massive player for us this season. So yeah, I would go with Danjuma. To be honest, he's done very little wrong. He's
right. Yeah,
an outstanding talent at this level. It's just who you go up front with. Is King in contention? If King's in contention, I would go for it. Whether or not I know that you mentioned in one of the other podcasts, there's certain things that might affect it. Is he? Are we trying to protect him because there's a move on the table, or? But I think we've got to think of ourselves, and I think King, is definitely, a shoe-in.
Oh yeah, there are certain things that AFC Bournemouth have done over the years, and they've paid lip service to players by saying, I mean, JT's come out and said that, Josh King's, he's up for the championship fight, and as long as he's a Bournemouth player, and if he's not involved with this, I will now start to call bullshit, or on those types of comments. I think, I don't know, because Dom Solanke, he hasn't done bad. He hasn't done badly.
He's one of those players, like you say, is not an out-and-out goal scorer. He's not going to get you 20 goals a season. But at the same time, he's very good at holding the ball up. He's unselfish, as we saw in the Blackburn game when he laid the ball off. So, yeah, I think the Solanke, you could probably play him just behind King. If need be.
Well, that's another thing I was saying. Could it almost be a three up top whereby you're playing a top two in Solanke and King? I don't know how well they would work together, and then play someone like Brooks just behind. Who I like it when he's got the floating role. Against Man City, I thought he had the freedom of the park and he looked good for it. But that would obviously mean Danjuma would then come out of contention, and like you say, he's not done a lot wrong. I think he was quiet against Middlesbrough, but let's face it, many players were. They had the bulk of the possession. They had double the shots, and in many ways they nullified our threat. So there are options there, aren't there?
Yeah, most definitely. I think Solanke can hold the ball up. He's very, very good at that. His shooting is questionable at times. Really, he should have made it 2-0 against Middlesbrough. All he needed to do was put it over the goalkeeper.
And he could have taken an extra touch as well, because he shot quite early, and he could have closed in on the keeper and just either dinked it or slipped it past him, or even did what Callum Wilson did on many times by rounding him and putting it in. But you know what? I think that's probably like one of the factors that JT's going to be like, look, we need a selfish striker.
We do.
And Sam Surridge showed elements of that. There was a chance in the second half against Man City where, in hindsight, you think, Surridge should have played someone in. But in a way, I was quite impressed at the fact he went on and looked for a shot. Maybe it didn't fall for him, and Man City, he got the blocks. But like we've said a few times before, it's almost like Solanke's trying to look to pass before he can shoot, and that shows that he's not got that clinical, ruthless edge. Josh King has.
Definitely.
And for this, I think we will need that. We need to outscore teams, and Norwich, they'll be fairly good defensively. I think it's going to be an interesting tussle.
Yeah, I think it will be. I think Surridge has got the makings of a very, very good striker. I think he's still a little bit raw, but I think he will eventually kick on and be an important player for us. I think Solanke, like I said before, he's not going to get us 20 goals a season, but he can hold the ball up. I think he's an important part, and I think we're seeing what he actually can do. Maybe that's not what Eddie bought him for, but I think we can play to those strengths. If we can keep King for the next 10 days, fantastic. We've got a fantastic striker there. And I still think we need some reinforcements. I'm a bit gutted, and I just want to mention him. Harry Arter, fantastic servant to this club, has done. I agree with Tom. One of the most poignant moments as a father myself was when he come on against, that hug against Man United, where he come off, and I think that's changed. His mindset. He needed to get away from the area, needs to have a fresh break. I was hoping after the cup game that JT might have turned his arm and made him think, right, okay, give it another go. It's a whole change, but it wasn't to be. And all I can do is wish him the very best at Forest. Hopefully they can follow us up out this league as well. I'm staying optimistic. But I still think we need a couple of reinforcement, and I think up front and at the back is where it's needed. In midfield, we're absolutely fine.
Especially when we can bring on the likes of Philip Billing, who we all know and love, right? Anyway, I mean, you know what? That side that you picked there, Craig, I'm quite happy with that. And if that was going to be the side that was fielded against Norwich, then I would be more than happy. And then to potentially have the ability to bring on players like Stanislas, Solanke. If we wanted to firm things up, obviously we could bring on Dan Gosling in midfield. There's lots of options there, and part of me at this point in time almost wishes we still had the 4 substitutions because there's a lot of strength on the bench there that we could utilise. But
going from the goalkeeper, so Begovic, you can only imagine he'd be on the bench. Zamora, who's shown what he can do in the cup games, at the back. Then you've got Gosling, who can change games. So if it's a Gosling type game, throw him in. Stanislas, Solanke, Surridge. So there's plenty of options. We're quite lucky that we've got very, very good bench at this moment in time. Now, when injuries kick in, that's when I think that I'll be most worried. If we get 3-4 injuries in succession, especially with the weekend Wednesday, like the Championship is, and it's relentless. That's where I'm worried. But I'm confident at this weekend.
Score prediction wise.
Oh no! You always ask me this, Sam.
Yeah,
I get it wrong.
I'm going for a 3-1 because the more I look at the Norwich side, that has got. I mean, they're a fairly good unit, but they're finding their feet. But our players have played together for many, for many months now, and I don't know. I think we'll be all right tomorrow, and I'm going for a 3-1 Bournemouth win. I've decided to be really optimistic now. I
think we will. I don't want to sound like Tony Funnell, but I'll probably go for a 2-1.
Yeah.
2-1 Tony. But yeah, I think we'll be all right. I don't think there's anything overly to fear. I think we've pinpointed the 2 players that I'm sure JT has got his eyes on, which is Pukki and Aarons. But they are a very good squad. I think what Norwich have done when they were promoted last time round is they've come down. They've done a sensible thing by keeping a similar sort of squad. So not spending the earth when they're in the Premier League, but that has given them the ability to then push on again. So yeah, I'm confident. I think we'll get the result that we want. Just hoping sooner rather than later that we can get back into Dean Court. It's a shame actually that with the rise in the cases that because I'm sure that we probably would have been picked as one of the clubs where we could have 1,000 fans into the stadium. Now, how do they determine that? Do they determine it by season ticket holders? Do they determine it on a ballot? How do they do that? I really don't know, because there's going to be, how many season ticket holders have we got? We've got
a good wedge, and a lot of them will be missing out. But
how do you determine it? It's one of those.
And I can't wait to get back. But either way, we'll all be watching on the stream to cheer on the Cherries tomorrow. Craig, thank you very much for coming on the preview today.
Not a problem at all. My pleasure.
And yeah, do you agree with Craig's lineup? Well, I mean, it was both of ours, really. There we go. That is what we thought. Let us know in the comments below. And remember, after the game, we've got the free-for-all as well. So it's a 4 o'clock kickoff. So at 6 o'clock, we'll have a free-for-all for about an hour or so, and we'll chat over the game. Feel free to come along and take part. Just grab some headphones. Go to afcbpodcast.com/take part. And then, we will discuss the Cherries win. That's what we're hoping anyway. Cheers for watching, and we'll see you at full time tomorrow. Up the Cherries.